Okay, go.
Okay. So here we are, the cemetery. I guess I'm supposed to say what we're doing here. We're going to be unveiling the Gary's stone, which was previously uncovered, has been recovered for the moment, and it's obviously like a really weird situation because there's a fraction of the people here who we thought were going to be here, including Stephen and Tammy and family, and the 50 other odd closest friends that Ruth and Gary happen to have. And it's Shabbat, so we don't have any prayer action going on. David Brown was going to read Mourner's Kaddish and other appropriate prayers for the moment. I don't think Gary would be too upset by that, because among his last instructions to the rabbi, just days before he died, regarding his funeral was, I just don't want any of that religious mumbo jumbo. So we will, that won't be a part of this. I wrote a few things down. I don't even know, what do you even say? I don't even know. So I wrote a few remarks down, so I'll read those, and then Luke will uncover the stone. Okay, so it has been 2 years. For me, most of the time that's passed without Gary in our daily lives has just been plain weird. I'm not sure that it would have been any less weird without the coronavirus, except that we would have been able to see Ruth more frequently. Sometimes it still seems as though he's only been gone for a few days. It's hard to even tell how long a day or a week is supposed to feel anymore. Back when Stephen and I shared an apartment in Soho, and 9/11 happened, and we walked the streets of Lower Manhattan, looking up at a gap in the sky where we knew we would always see two solid towers standing tall, and we could hardly comprehend that they were no longer there. It just didn't make sense. This is a little bit like that, but a lot more personal. Of course, Gary's death was no big surprise, but that doesn't mean that any of us were ready for it. And his absence still feels like something huge, a permanent fixture in our lives gone, has left a hole that we can't really become accustomed to. In the weeks and months after he died, I spent a lot of time not just sad, but also profoundly grateful for who he was, both as a father and a person. Of course, I still think of him all the time, sometimes at random moments, like when a Beatles song comes on the radio, or while planning our upcoming trip to Israel, or when I have to clean out the irrigation ditch for my apple trees. And I recall Gary's big threat that if I did poorly in school, that I'd wind up as a ditch digger. I guess he was right. Other times, I feel like I've got an invisible bracelet on, similar to those worn by evangelical Christians. Theirs say, WWJD. What would Jesus do? Mine says, WWGD. What would Gary do? And usually I know, but I'd still very much like to hear it from him. Then there are the times that are really hard, like when Kelly and Ruth and Lewis and Jane and I were at Luke's middle school graduation, and we found out that he had earned the Special Dean's Award for Overall Excellence. Gary would have been so happy, so deeply proud, that my own joy was mixed with the sadness that he couldn't be there to see it. And I know that Ruth and Tammy and Stephen have had similarly emotional moments, like David getting into Tufts, or Sarah joining the Civil Air Patrol, or Mila starting school. These times, they're at once so good and so hard because they are so good, and Gary isn't here to share them with us. Sometimes, though, they're just hard. I've long thought that the true taste of life is something like chocolate-covered tears. So I guess that means at least we're experiencing the world with some authenticity. I know, too, that Gary would be incredibly proud of how Ruth has stepped into the world of paperwork, and tax filings, and account juggling, and learning about water heaters and generator relays. And that he'd be especially proud of how Tammy and Jorge have not only helped Ruth every step of the way, but done it with such patience and grace. I'm pretty sure he'd be proud of me and Stephen for a few things too, but I'm not sure exactly for what. And the grandchildren, well, that goes without saying. So, we've got a big, big hole coated with tears that in the best moments are covered by chocolate, though Gary might prefer them glazed. And we've still got each other, which for Gary was the most important thing of all.
My nose is running.
There's always a lot of talk about the immediate family and all the friends and family that Gary and Ruth always touch. But you can't leave us out here. You really can't. I know I'm not a good talker, but I'm going to talk.
Can you see Susan? I don't know which way you're flipped.
Yeah, they can still see you.
Help you see me. Hold on.
Right. So, you know, Ruth and Gary and their kids have been so important for our lives, in our lives, making us feel like a family and welcoming our kids, being their godparents, and really being there. I mean, he was there for Julia when she needed him. And in his last days, when he spoke to Nick on the phone, I've never heard anything like that in my entire life. Being able to say goodbye to Nick and allowing Nick in the moment to really talk to Gary and not feel like he wasn't part of it and part of everything. And so, you know, from the time I really didn't like you to the time where we couldn't live without you, we're here and we're managing. We're doing everything you want us to do. And so are your kids and your wife. It's never the same. It never is the same without mom and dad, without you, without so many people. And you're just woven into us. And it's hard to separate out. We love you, Gary. We miss you so much. All the time.
Okay. I'm clearly not saying anything.
I was 13 when I met Gary.
I know,
I'm
you
old.
didn't, but you didn't like him.
I maybe didn't like him right away.
Well, I didn't like him when I was 13.
Maybe it's the age, right?
All right, so I think we're just going to leave a couple of stones from New Mexico because everything else is going to be blown away in the hurricane. And these are from when I was hiking with Michael and Kelly the last time I was out. And then everybody's going to scatter. Joyce and Jane are driving back to Maryland. Michael, Kelly, Luke are going to get on the train this afternoon early and go back to Manhattan, and the rest of us will just stay here and hope for the best.
Right.
So it looks like, Tammy, you could be pretty close to the first original landfall.
And we got the weather report from Ruth. This only makes it complete.
Right, and hopefully nothing comes into your basement.
Right.
Oh, no, the basement.
Yeah, I hope you have nothing in the way of the basement.
Gary, the basement's really not that bad.
The forehand plug his machinery.
Oh, wow.
Say that again, Stevie?
Dad would be happy with all of the last minute logistics that are coming
How do?
That's true.
Absolutely.
That's true. That was always, what's the next thing that's going to happen? And then, of course, it's not working that way, so we have to change it again. So that's what happens. Okay, guys, we love you. Bye.
Love you guys.
See you guys.
Bye.